It's funny how sometimes one tiny, tiny moment can change absolutely everything. Well, today we're diving into exactly that, the massive show-altering butterfly effect that came from just one single sentence in the history of Friends. So I want you to just think about this with me. Let's play a game of what if. What if one little sentence, just a handful of words, was never actually spoken? It sounds small, but it could have completely rewritten a decade of television. And there it is, those 6 words, spoken by Rachel Green during that huge anniversary fight with Ross. This one line, you guys, it didn't just stop an argument. Oh no, it lit a fuse that would basically burn for the next 7 seasons. Okay, so to really get the impact, we have to go right back to that moment. It's their anniversary, Ross is all set with his romantic picnic plans, and Rachel, she's completely swamped at her new dream job. You can just feel the tension in that room, it's cracking. But if you look really close, the fight wasn't actually about the picnic basket or Rachel working late. Not at all. It was being fueled by 2 really deep fears. Ross's crippling insecurity from his first marriage ending, and Rachel's absolute terror of losing this new independence she'd fought so hard for. All right, so let's jump into an alternate timeline for a second. What if Rachel never said it? What if the argument just fizzled out? They take a breather, a cool down, instead of a full-on break. How different would things look then? And boom, right here, you can see the fork in the road. In our timeline, the break sends Ross straight to a bar where he meets Chloe. But in this other world, a pause sends him right back home. And just like that, the single biggest betrayal of their entire relationship, it just never happens. Now, of course, this alternate path isn't some magic wand that fixes everything. Their core problems, Ross's jealousy, Rachel's crazy demanding job, they're still there. The conflict wouldn't just vanish. It would just simmer under the surface instead of exploding all at once. See, without that escape hatch of a breakup, they would have been forced to actually deal with their issues. This other path would have required so much more communication, way more compromise, and a real effort to grow with each other instead of away from each other. Honestly, it might have made them even stronger. In this is where those little ripples start turning into a tidal wave. Because if Ross and Rachel manage to stay together, it doesn't just change their story, it changes the entire show. I mean, just think about it for a second. The show's most legendary, most quoted, most argued about line, poof, gone. It would have never even been said. And with that one change, you erase years of running gags, of fights, of misunderstandings. It's like the central tension engine that powered so many episodes just gets switched off. So what would the writers do? Where would they find the drama? Well, maybe Monica and Chandler's secret romance gets going way sooner, becoming the heart of the show much earlier. Or maybe Joey's struggle as an actor becomes a more serious central plot. Or, hey, maybe Rachel's amazing climb up the fashion ladder becomes the real emotional anchor of the whole series. This all leads us to this really fascinating paradox, right? Why was this awful, painful moment so critical to the show's success? Why did this big conflict create such a powerful connection with all of us watching? Because the break wasn't just something that happened, it was the story's engine. It was the device that kept that central love story running on pure will they or won't they fuel for almost 10 years. It was the perfect symbol for a perfectly imperfect love story. And that's exactly why we couldn't look away. We weren't watching a perfect fairy tale. We were watching 2 people, 2 really flawed people who were madly in love, but just kept tripping over their own feet and their own baggage. It felt real. So why does any of this matter? It kind of pulls back the curtain on a basic truth about the stories we fall in love with. We aren't always drawn to perfection. A lot of the time, we're drawn to the struggle. I mean, think about it. After all of it, the break, the fights, the jealousy, everything, they still ended up together. The break didn't actually change their final destination. It just added this massive, dramatic, and honestly unforgettable detour to their journey. At the end of the day, yeah, without the break, Ross and Rachel's love story might have been way simpler, maybe even happier in the short term. But there's no way it would have been the epic, messy, and totally unforgettable story that we are all still talking about decades later. So I'll just leave you with this to chew on. If you had the power, if you were in that writer's room, would you actually erase that iconic moment to give them a smoother ride? Or was all that drama exactly what their story needed to become legendary?